our special guest, Professor A.K. Mukhopadhyay from AIMS, New Delhi, who's known as the father of modern medicine in India. Can we have a quick introduction to Professor Mukhopadhyay? So Professor A.K. Mukhopadhyay is presently Professor of Pathology, North DMC Medical College and Hindu Rao Hospital in Delhi. He was formerly Professor of Department of Laboratory Medicine at AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi, from 1985 to 2018. In India, he's honored as the father of laboratory medicine. Yeah. He received his MBBS from University of Calcutta in 77, in pathology from AIMS MD in pathology from AIMS in 1991. His areas of expertise are neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, and neuropsychiatric disorders like depression and stress. His works have been published in several, actually numerous, internationally recognized publications. He is well known for his works in the field of consciousness. He coined the term and concept of supracortical consciousness in 1985 and further developed this idea integrating science, humanity, and spirit. He received several international awards. Some of them include the Doctor in Science honoris causa by the Open International University for Complementary Medicine, Colombo, in Sri Lanka in 1996, the 2000 Millennium Medal of American Biographical Institute, ABI, and the Lifetime Achievement Award by System Society of India in 2018. He's a member of the International Academy of Pathology in New York, the New York Academy of Sciences, Indian Medical Association, and Indian Science Congress Association. Professor Mukhopadhyay has been long associated with the Bhakti Vedanta Institute, and he has delivered several stimulating lectures at the Bhakti Vedanta Institute's annual conferences and seminars, and he's present today in our summer school. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over the screen and stage to Professor Mukhopadhyay. Sir.
You can unmute yourself, sir.
Can we share his screen as the spotlight? Thank you.
You can unmute yourself, sir.
Am I audible?
It's soft. You need to make it a bit louder, the volume, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm grateful to the organizer, especially Varun Maharaj, who sent me an email to participate and to give some message for this session. I have not prepared any slides, but I have been working on this science for consciousness and also which also includes life for a long time. I'll share some of my ideas. Now, life is very difficult to define in science, but there are different views. And it is meant differently by the philosophers, by the scientist, by the spiritualist. Common people think life means that whenever I am born until I die, this is the life. For Aristotle, it was an animation. For Kant, life is an organization. For Descartes, life is a mechanism. For Darwin, life is variation and evolution. For Whitehead, life is a process. For Weber, life is a complex system. And for Dawkins, epiphenomenal gene vehicle is life. Now, all this statement I was analyzing today only, and I found they're true, but partially true. Now, let us take one by one. Life is an animation. You people are all IITians, most of you are IITians. And if you have noticed it that any signal-based system presentation, if you add animation, it becomes immediately lively. So, from an impersonate view, life looks like an animation. Kant says life is an organization. Now, what is this organization? Most of the scientists will call it self-organization. And the example is the self-similar pattern formation like fractals. But organization by life and organization by self are different. Self is masculine. Life is feminine. In self-organization, there is logic. In organization by life, there is aesthetics. In self-organization, mostly digitized information is used. In organization by life, the non-digitized information is used. Life is sensitive not only to digitized information, but to non-digitized information. Now, science is progressing from digitized information to non-digitized information. And life, the relationship of life with non-digitized information is a frontier. Now, Descartes called life is a mechanism. Now, what is the mechanics of life? We know classical mechanics or quantum mechanics. Does life have a mechanics? Probably yes. The mechanism of life is homeostasis. And it is not static homeostasis. It is a dynamic homeostasis that is called homeorexis. Now, what is this homeostasis about? Not about the blood, not about the glucose metabolic product. This is the ordinary biologist will tell that life maintains the homeostasis. I will take this homeostasis to a very higher level. Life can sense uncertainty and makes the uncertainty certainty homeostasis and makes it certain. From uncertainty to certainty, only life can do it. A robot left in an uncertain situation cannot overcome it. But a life in an uncertain situation tries to overcome it. May not succeed, may succeed. So uncertainty, certainty, homeostasis is the property of life. Second, symmetry. Life senses symmetry. Symmetry and asymmetry homeostasis is a property of life. I just kept my pen on the table and suddenly I did not find it. There's a loss of symmetry and I am disturbed. This asymmetry is sensed by, because I am alive. It is sensed by life. A simple ant can sense it. A single cell can sense it. So asymmetry, symmetry, homeostasis is another property of life. And third is dark energy and visible energy homeostasis. That is energy, total energy homeostasis is a property of life. So I will take to explain life, the homeostasis at a very higher level, uncertainty, certainty. Here comes the information science. Symmetry, asymmetry, symmetry breaking process, symmetry making process. And third is homeostasis of the dark energy and the visible energy. So this is a mechanism of, this is the mechanism of life. Life can do it, nothing else can do it. Nothing else can do it. Second mechanism in life is in the cognitive ladder. We have signal, we have information, we have knowledge, we have experience, and we have wisdom. This is the cognitive ladder. Physical system is signal based. As soon as we go to the living system, mind, this is information based. Then from information, there is a knowledge formation that is also in the living system. And from knowledge system, there is an experience. And from experience, experience is system bound. Now, when there is a concurrence of experience of multiple systems, that is called wisdom. So life works at the level of knowledge and experience. I read many books, I acquired knowledge. But when I went to the ward to see patient, I see that my knowledge is not matching with, the book knowledge is not matching with the reality. So there is a symmetry breaking, and then there is a symmetry making. Now this property, which I have explained earlier, so this is a property of life, and life is important mechanism of life. In the mechanics of life, it forms experience from the knowledge base. So I described the two mechanisms. One is homeostasis and in the ladder, and second is in the ladder of cognition. Darwin said that life is a variation and evolution. Yes, but what evolves? Now, the material scientist has found evolution in the matter, described the evolution in the matter. But the biological evolution and the material evolution are different, but there is a common thing we can work with. That is a system which operate locally but communicate non-locally can evolve. A system which can operate locally and can communicate non-locally, that gives it the ability to evolve, whether it's a material system or is a living system. The life, according to Darwin, what he said, can be explained in connection of locality and the non-locality, local science and the non-local science. Now, Whitehead said life is a process. Now, what are the processes in life? There are mostly a non-automated process. Signal system in a cell is an automated process. But cell also has autonomous processes. That is the cognitive system. And then cell has a choice. will, freedom. That means a living cell is an embodiment of a non-dual reality, that is consciousness, a cognitive reality, and the material reality. Now, you will not find any system which has the combination of all three. We are material, we are cognitive, and we are also can go to non-dual consciousness. Weber says life is a complex system, yes. So we cannot understand life without understanding the complexity. There is a full science on complexity. So, and the complexity is more complex in life because of the automation and autonomy. You see, one must distinguish between automation, that is in the machine, and autonomy, that is we are. But we are also machine. Because most of the signal system which has been perfected, they have been left automated. Same way, our many reflex system, many activities have been automated when it has achieved a reasonable degree of perfection. But which has not achieved perfection, that has to be looked into. And so the autonomy prevails and my freedom of choice prevails. And this freedom of choice comes from consciousness. Autonomy is the cognitive organs, and automation is the material system. Now, Dawkins says, Richard Dawkins, life is an epiphenomenal gene vehicle. True. When Craig Venter produced artificial life in the lab, they produced the gene of some organism into the plasma of some mycoplasma. So if that gene has not been put into the plasm, the life is not there. We can produce gene, DNA, but artificially, but we cannot produce this plasma that we need from the cell, even in artificial life. So, is virus alive? Never. In the taxonomy of life, virus is not included as a living entity. Why? Because there is a series of difference between a DNA as a molecule, DNA which is informed, informational DNA, so chemical DNA, then becomes informational DNA, then DNA which can be replicated in a thermocycler machine, not in the body, but in a machine, then DNA which can replicate, and you need cytoplasm for that. The plasm is that, and plasm contains life. I will come to that. And DNA which can replicate, DNA which can transcript messenger RNA. So even this molecular DNA has series of steps to evolve into life. Now, this subtlety is a frontiers of research. How a chemical DNA becomes informational DNA, how informational DNA becomes replicating DNA outside body, inside body, and this replicating DNA, how did it get ability to transcript messenger RNA? Therefore, the virus, which has a DNA, it has to be put into a cell again for its replication. It cannot replicate itself. So virus has not been classified in the taxonomy of life. Here comes the life has a gross structure and a subtle structure. Gross is tangible, and the subtle part is intangible. which has been called life principle in the spiritual literature, elan vital by the spiritual minded Westerner, Henry Bergson. So, but life has a subtle part and life has a gross part. Now, is there any proof of subtle part in life? Evidence? Yes. Choice. If the subtle, what is that subtle part by which a single cell can choose its environment? Choice, ability to choose. And another very simple thing, from sleeping state to waking state, from when we are sleeping and then we are becoming awake, the gross processes of life is same. The metabolic processes which are going on are same. But still, we were sleeping at this moment and that moment we are awake. Here comes the subtle part of life's activity. If the subtle part of life is not there, non-functioning, we'll never be awakened from sleep. And that means death during sleep. A dead person will never become awakened because life principle has left. So following that metabolic processes, the life processes has also stopped. What I'm trying to tell that life has a gross processes, has a number of gross processes, and life has number of subtle processes. Now subtle processes we do not know. So these are to be the frontiers of research in when we do go into the right. Life is a system. Now what kind of system? It is an open system. It exchanges energy, it exchanges matter, it exchanges information and something else also with the environment. So life is an open system. Life is a non-linear system. Life is a complex system. Life is a self-organizing system. And I have given the characteristic of organization by life itself. To summarize, it is a feminine. It produces aesthetics values. It is response to non-digitized information and probably related to generation of feelings. But life is a system which can set its own environment. No other system can make its own environment. This is another very, very great characteristic of life system. As a system which can change its environment. Now, is it true that if whatever is alive will ultimately die? Now, I'll take a quote. The certainty of death was absent at the origin of life. Lynn Margulis points out in Scientific American. Unlike humans and other mammals, many organisms do not age and die. The process of programmed inevitable death evolved only after our symbiotic microbial ancestor, some 2 billion years ago, became sexual individual. Margulis meant by sex mating and cell fusion. So the apoptosis, which is a programmed cell death, are only visible in the cells which have come from fusion of two cells. So cellular mating actually initiated a programmed cell death in the cell system. So in the certainty of death was absent at the origin of life. So when we say that he has reached immortality, possibly, because it was not there. If somebody goes to that sexless condition, So it is possible. Purna Brahmacharya, Akhanda Brahmacharya, possible. Now, I will talk about something that can life be explained by only matter, because scientists are materialistic. They do not go into the vitalistic paradigm. So I tried to answer this question, that can it be explained only by matter? So I studied matter. There are ordinary matter, there are exotic matters. There are matters which are beyond exotic, that is dark matter, neutrinos. So these are the things which are coming up. Now, life can be seen as a syncytium of a number of matters with water interfacing, because water constitutes the 80% of the life. So it is a number of metals, matter, not metals, matters, number of matters, which are, amalgam is a wrong word, but syncytium probably would be an approximate best word, that life is a syncytium of a number of matter. I have a paper on that. You can go through my website and find it out. So life is a matter syncytium, ordinary matter, exotic matter, dark matter, neutrino, etc., etc. Now come to the origin of life. Origin of life, if you think the subtle part of life, that is life principle or prana, that originated from consciousness, mother nature. That is in the multiverse. As Dr. Manoranjan told, the multiple universe. Now, I want to explain one thing here. Universe is taken as a singular number with an assumption that universe does not have plural. But now, beside your Vedanta, so many evidence in science that there are multiple universes. Now, how will you express multiple universe? Multiverse. They call it multiverse. And the system which is constituted by multiple universe may be called the multiversity. That is the largest intellectually comprehensible system. Largest intellectually comprehensible system. Yes, it is comprehensible. Now, so there is a border of the universe, and as soon as you go to the cross the border of the universe, you are in the multiverse system. So, as he said that Lord Krishna created all these things, multiple universe. Yes. Now, somebody calls it called Lord Krishna. In science, we may call it the essence of the multiversity, the essence from which this multiverse is created. Now, when this essence is personified, you see, if I keep on thinking, meditating on this essence throughout my life, so this essence gets personified and I become a guru. Like that. It is not humanly possible. So we cannot become so much because we have so many things in our mind. So the Krishna was a person probably that who could do it. And from him, so many things have come. We may call it Krishna, we may call it Krishna consciousness, we may call it universal consciousness. I will say multiversal consciousness. Vishantar Chetana. देश से देशांतर, ग्राम से ग्रामांतर, तो ये विश्व से विश्वांतर, विश्वांतर चेतन, the essence of the multiversity, from where everything has been created. I'm talking in terms of science. So this life principle, the subtle part of life, is the daughter darling of the consciousness mother nature. Life comes in this universe. But formation of life form, that is the science is debating on, how the life form is formed. The life form is formed when the matter evolved to a state which may be called the living state of matter. In India, the 3 international conferences held on the living state of matter by Professor R.K. Mishra, late Professor R.K. Mishra, who was the head of the Department of Biophysics, and then he became the Vice Chancellor of Northeast Hill University. He was very close associate of Professor Prigogine, the Nobel laureate. So Prigogine, Brian Josephson, another Nobel laureate, and Professor Mishra, these 3, they were of my father's age. So they organized 3 conferences, one in Delhi, another is in Bhopal, and another is in Shillong. The whole conference was on living state. The living state of matter is very important. Now that is a frontiers. So what do you mean by living state of matter? So you can Google out and do research on the living state of matter. Now living state of matter, the life principle, and the most important even the enclosure, that it should be within a boundary. Why boundary? Because self and environment different, self and other. I am me, that is the environment. Self and other differentiation is meant by this boundary, enclosure. This epochal event of enclosure, the mechanism is not known. When we go into the origin of life principle to beyond comprehension, just we tell that it is the daughter darling of consciousness mother nature.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
We have about a minute left for the talk.
I have 2 minutes.
One minute, yeah.
Okay. So we have that when this life form was created, science says the nucleic acid originated before the origin of the earth. How it was created? Matter evolved to the living state, and then there was an enclosure, that is cell membrane. Now, where it was originated? Probably the nucleic acid originated extraterrestrially, and then it fell on the earth, and then this enclosure, etc., happened, and we get the life form. It might have happened also in some other planet, so we can get life in some other planet. Now to conclude that how much time will it take to understand life? I have a vision that it will not happen in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It will take almost a century. Because 21st century is the century for science of information. We do not know. We know information technology, signal technology. I will not say information technology. So 21st century, we will know about the information. Now, what is the source of information? Source of information is life. A non-living thing cannot create an information. All information, whatever we are creating, this is created by living things. So source of information is life. So we'll know the source of information in the next century. So we have to wait for a century. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your kind and very intriguing, insightful presentation. It's unfortunate that we don't have Q&A for the special guest session, but it would have been delightful to hear some of the questions and answers. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you all. Thank you.
So please join me and with a big round of applause for Professor Mukhopadhyay for a very insightful presentation about the life about life, especially he's laying out the taxonomy of life as well as the different symptoms actually. For example, at the cognitive level and certainty, uncertainty, how information is central to life. I think that's really a very important takeaway, very insightful for me. The understanding of automated and autonomy, which is actually key concepts in understanding how there can be a breakthrough in understanding life. Thank you very much once again.